Very few people in Europe even know that this is happening. In fact, I actually spoke with other Romanian citizens and they said that it sounds like a conspiracy theory. I really love the word conspiracy theory nowadays. It's when someone doesn't want to accept or engage with an idea and they want to censor the idea. I mean, they don't debunk the conspiracy, they just call it conspiracy theory, as in, yeah, I don't think that's true and I don't want to talk about it. That's pretty much what they mean, right? And when an institution says it's a conspiracy theory, then they mean it needs to be censored, like shut down the conversation about that topic. But it's not a conspiracy because it's on the page of the European Commission. And it's not being done by the actual people, it's not grassroots. It's something that's being dictated top down. So, what is it? Well, it's the European Digital Identity. And what it means is that every single information about the person and literally all your private information that you would freak out if a hacker would gain access to, from the equivalent of your social security number to your bank account to your medical records to even the shopping that you do, like all of this is going to be compiled into this digital identity. So, what are the benefits of it? Why would anyone want to share this information with the European Union? In fact, they actually say that people feel uncomfortable sharing this with social media. So let the European Union have access to all this information about their citizens. And apparently it's because it helps people identify online and offline. So you can use this to actually identify online. So your actions online now, I suppose, can be tracked. Store and exchange information provided by governments, so your ID. Store and exchange information provided by trusted private sources. Use the information as confirmation of the right to reside, to work, or to study in a certain member state. So, for the people who travel around Europe, I guess it's kind of convenient. And I think this is the selling point. It's the convenience, because you have everything in one place. But the main problem that I have with this is like, do I really trust the European Union? Do I really trust an entity which started off as an open market and is now turning into a super state without the consent of the public? I mean, no one voted for the European Union to have this much power. I mean, sure, I can vote for a parliamentarian that goes to the EU and represents me, but no Polish person has ever voted on having the European law supersede the Polish constitution. It's actually a big debate right now. So I guess now the European Union is more powerful than the Romanian constitution. The sovereignty of Romania is completely gone and evaporated. So why would I trust such an organization that is doing this level of creeping authoritarianism with all of my private security? And I guess some people won't, but they will find a way to pressure people to do it. I wouldn't be surprised if they do that, given the fact that they are pressuring people to do other things they don't want. And the thing that really concerns me the most is that there is such a system already in the world. We can see it in China. And it looks like a dystopian nightmare where you can walk into a store in certain Chinese cities and they scan your face, they have this facial scan, and they have access to everything there is to know about you. They have access to your bank account, they have access to all of this thing that the digital identity has. The government can simply do your taxes so that you don't have to do the hassle anymore. But if you also are caught speeding or you do something that's not okay, like you post some hate sprache online, then you can get a fine and boom, your money is just gone from your bank. There's nothing you can do about it. It's what they used to be talking about in the beginning of the pandemic, cashless society. It's like, where the fuck did this come from? Why cashless society? What does the virus have to do with cash? And apparently this is the cashless society, right? The digital one, probably the digital euro, the digital dollar, centralized banking system that controls your money whenever you have some. And one of the most concerning things that a lot of people are having right now is that what if the government can say, all right, well, we're going to monitor the carbon emissions of every household. So, for example, beef. We all know that cows are hurting Mother Gaia because they fart. And it might be that every pound of flesh that you buy from a cow can cause some carbon. And if you go overboard, well, you can either get taxed if you buy more cow meat, or they can just give you an error in the application and not allow you to buy more cow meat. So it's an interesting way of taxing people. Now, I lived through this shit, and my parents lived through this shit. Under socialism in my country, you had meat rations. So you weren't allowed to buy more than 2 kilograms of chicken per month. Even if you had money, even if you had the ability to do so, whenever you went to buy chicken, you had a ration card, and they would rip off a square from the ration card, and you had only 2 squares. So when you bought the second one, they ripped off the other, and then you can't buy any more for that particular month. And everything was rationed. You had oil, you had gas, you had... Man, life was shit. And what ended up happening, people played Fetch Quest. I made a video talking about that, where people would trade some sugar for some alcohol for some meat. It was ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, I lived through that. And I guess there is a possibility that this system might come back, given the fact that, again, people aren't being consulted with this. I mean, this is done without the consent of the public because people don't know about it. Again, when I talk about this with other Romanians, it sounds like a conspiracy theory. No politician here campaigned for this. No referendum was done. Even public discourse on television, you don't get to hear about it. And yet it's being discussed, proposed, and it seems like it might pass, and it's going to be interesting. I just want to point out that none of the things that this adds is anything different than commodity. I mean, you can already do all of these things right now. You can travel to another country in the European Union. You can reside, work, or study. You don't need the digital pass. The digital identity just makes it a little bit more convenient, but at the end of the day, it's not necessary. So a lot of people are raising questions, especially because of the digital one. And, there used to be other conspiracy theories that the green pass that they're having now might be switched with something like this, and now we see something like this. Yeah, I know, it's a conspiracy. Yes, of course. Usually the timeline for a conspiracy theory to materialize in 2021 is give or take 6 months. You have people talking about something, and then it turns into reality magically. So, yeah, we'll see. I suppose there's not much I can do about it, I guess. I'm not going to get one if it's available, but we'll see if other people get it. Just tell other people that this is being discussed. So at least they're part of the conversation, because it seems common plebs like us don't have to be included in the conversation. The conversation is happening without us. There is a saying that the Romanian EMP actually had, and it's a very interesting saying. When you know everything there is to know about the government, when there's transparency, you have democracy. When the government knows everything there is to know about you, then you have tyranny. So, if this system gets implemented and the European Union is going to know all these things about me, do I even know half the shit about the European Union as they know about me? It's an interesting question, and some people might say, well, hold on a little bit. Maybe this data is secure. Maybe the European Union won't actually have access to your data. What's to stop them from changing the legislation? Is there a rule that would stop them from having access to the data? I mean, the bank accounts are supposed to be secure, but the government at all times can just pass a legislation and look into people's bank accounts. I mean, in Romania, they actually do this. Initially, the bank accounts were secured, and now every month the banks are sending their information to the Romanian equivalent of the IRS. So what is to stop the European Union from passing legislation to all of a sudden have access to all of these informations? Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the comment section. Take care.